our admin drop-down menu, and we're going to take a look at our shift center here, specifically the setup shift screen. Now, I happen to operate 12-hour schedules on my system as well. And so using my patrol day shift as an example here, we're going to take a look at the different fields you're going to have to fill out when you're creating your shifts.
All right.
Now, for every shift, you're going to have to assign it a shift code, which is limited in character length. So you want to abbreviate it similar to what I did here. Now, I called mine PD days because sometimes we also have a day shift for our communications group or our dispatchers.
Okay.
Now, do you guys have that there, or are they scheduled somewhere else?
Our dispatchers are actually scheduled with us. Each squad gets its own dispatcher.
I understand. Now, those dispatchers, are they supervised by someone else, or is it the officer in charge that oversees that?
No, it's the officer in charge.
I understand. So when I'm looking at within your department, Squad 1, I look at my officers and my dispatchers together.
Correct.
Okay, great.
That's how manpower requirements are met.
I understand. So, with that said, I would recommend creating your day shift, and you can just call it days, like that code. Under the description, you have a little bit more character length available. If you would like to enter the times, you can certainly do that. Now, the description that you enter will be the description that is used as the label above the shift whenever someone is looking at something like a daily schedule. Under abbreviation, you're just going to assign that shift a one-character abbreviation, so you don't have more than one character available on that field. And D for day should work just fine. Now, the abbreviation is not terribly important, but there are certain schedule views, primarily monthly and yearly views, where, as you can imagine, there's a lot of information to display. So what we do is we summarize someone's work schedule just by using D for days, N for nights, A for admin, maybe D for detective bureau. So again, that only affects specific schedule views, and so I would just try to keep it simple. Under the start time, enter the start and end times for that shift. Now, the sergeant assigned to the day shift, are they working the same exact hours as the officers and the dispatchers?
Yes.
Okay, great. So no adjustments need to be made for those guys. Sometimes they come in, a half hour early or something to, build their shifts or to manage them, but I think we're in good shape here. Now, after you've entered the start and end times, the number of hours for the total shift will be calculated for you, so no worries there. At the very bottom, over to the right, we're going to mark validate minimum staffing levels. And so what that means is at some point, we're going to enter what your minimum staffing requirements are for your day shifts and your night shifts. And we're going to be able to specify what type of person we need, whether it's an officer, a supervisor, or a dispatcher, and we'll be able to enter the number of people we need for each skill set. And you'll even be able to set different rules for different days of the week.
Okay.
And that's going to happen in one of the later online classes. Right now, all you're doing is clicking yes in order to turn that function on for the later class. I think we're okay here. I'll go ahead and click on the Save button, and there is my day shift added over on the left. So, as I was mentioning before, regardless of what squad I'm in, whether you're 1, 2, 3, 4, when it comes time for you to work the day shift, you're all going to be assigned to that same block. It's just you're going to be on it on different days. And that's what our schedule rotation will help us determine. So after you create your day shift, you can go ahead and create your night shift. Again, entering the whatever description you think would work best on the schedule. Use N for nights. We're going to put the start and end times. And at the very bottom, once again, we're going to click yes for validate minimum staffing levels. Now, some of your other shifts might be a little easier to work with. If I click on my admin shift, we're just going to enter 8 to 4, or whatever the most commonly worked times are for admin.
All right.
Now, in the event that you have someone that works an admin shift, but they might not work those exact hours, don't create another shift for them. So if you have one guy who's 7 to 3, you won't have to create a separate shift for them. You will have the opportunity to assign them to this admin shift and assign them specific work times.
Okay.
Okay? Now, aside from your admin days and nights, you might have a records shift in there, support services, whatever it might be. What about your detectives? How are they?
They work 8-hour shifts Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Typically, the shifts are 8 to 4, 12 to 8, and 4 to 12.
I see. Now, do they work those steadily, or do they rotate between those three?
They rotate every week.
Every week. Okay. So what we're going to do there is we're going to create detective shifts, 3 of them. Okay. And you will be able to create a schedule rotation. So if I'm going to work this week 8 to 4, and next week 12 to 8, and the following week 4 to 12, and then it cycles back, you'll have a rotation that does that. Now, the other detectives are going to have similar rotations, but obviously everything is going to be staggered. So if you assign me to 8 to 4, one of the other guys has to be 12 to 8, or one of the other guys has to be 4 to 12. So you'll want to make sure that you have 3 of those detective shifts entered.
All right.
Okay. And in fact, I'll just do one. I can do, I think, detective, something like that could probably work. You know, whether you're putting it in the 12-hour format, or it's really up to you. For the abbreviation, I may use an 8. That way, when I'm looking at those few screens, I can say, okay, this guy is working at 8 today. This guy is, working at 4. It's kind of problematic because it's only one character, so we would have to figure out how we want to indicate the 12 to 8. You might also think of it as days, afternoons, and evenings. That's one other possibility.
All right.
Okay. And in fact, maybe I'll do that for just this one. Now, at the very bottom here, just for my system here, I won't track minimum staffing, but if that is something you want to do for the detectives, you certainly can.
Okay. They do change their shifts a lot based on what's going on. They tend to move people. If you happen to be a 4 to 12 guy and they need some coverage in the morning for whatever reason, they do switch their schedules quite often during the week.
Okay. And like there's nothing wrong with that.
You can change shifts pretty easily on this system?
Absolutely. And think of what we're doing here is building schedule templates. We want to start from somewhere. We
Right.
want to have a base schedule for every employee. But we want the flexibility to move people around, right? So if I'm a detective that typically works, 8 to 4, maybe I was on call and I got a call in the middle of the night, and now I'm gonna just like switch with one of the guys. You can do that. Sometimes the way the Detective Bureau schedules work, sometimes you have to give them that flexibility to do it, whether or not it's done at the supervisory level, if it's a detective sergeant who's doing it, or just the detectives themselves. Sometimes they need to just be able to go in and switch things around. That's those are privileges that you can grant to that specific group, if you want.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what we need, actually. So I would just, a detective sergeant, I can give him that privilege.
Absolutely. And, generally speaking, most sergeants would probably have some level of privileges to allow them to move the schedules around, even if it's just like on a day-to-day basis, just to be able to resolve staffing issues or, things of that nature. We may not necessarily want a sergeant to reassign an officer for a long period of time, but day-to-day changes are sometimes necessary.
And you can get that detailed with the permissions you give?
Absolutely. So everyone who is logging on with preset privileges. So an administrator, which I'm assuming you would be, has complete control over the entire schedule and everyone in it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's zero restrictions for you. For a basic user, your typical officer, detective, any non-supervisory member of the department, like a records clerk, they're just going to be basic users, right? They just need to be able to view a schedule. They need to be able to request a day off. They might have to sign up for maybe an extra duty job if you guys are going to choose to publish that stuff, or maybe sign up for an overtime opportunity. But it's restricted. And the supervisors are going to have those privileges in addition to the ability to approve time off requests, the ability to maybe approve overtime requests for their guys when they work late at the end of their shift. They might have to apply overtime to the schedule when too many people call out sick on a particular day. And I would say probably within the sergeant/supervisory privileges, we would want to give them the chance to make day-to-day changes. You know, if I need to adjust someone's hours, or if I need to assign somebody to a different shift on a given day, I can do that. It might just be a matter of, listen, your 8 to 4 detective guy, he can't come in 8 to 4. He got a late call last night, so he's going to work, 10 to something. No, you can do that.
Okay.
Okay. So I just took the opportunity to create those detective shifts. So you'll want to model them similar to what I did. You're free to use different codes or descriptions to better fit your needs. But at this point, are there any questions just about creating the shift?
No.
Okay. So let's close out of the setup shift screen. And we're going to move away from the admin menu and switch over to the build schedule menu. And we're going to select update rotations. So let's start off with a very simple schedule rotation. We're going to click on the New button. And over on the right, we're going to assign the rotation a 2-part code. My recommendation here is that you use the first part of the code to indicate the department or the squad that the schedule belongs to. Next, the second part of the code can be used to indicate the type of schedule you're building. In the description field, a combination of both things I think would work well. So I can call this administration Monday through Friday, or M through F could work just as well. And then we're going to move on to the start and end dates. This is extremely important, especially when you start getting into those Pitman schedules. This is going to represent the first working day in the schedule pattern you're about to create. So because this is a Monday through Friday schedule, I need to make sure this is a Monday. Now, because I happen to choose December 5th, this is the absolute earliest that I would be able to assign anyone to the schedule I'm about to create. So what you want to do is you want to think about how far back you want to build your schedules. If you guys are going to go live in January and you're not really going to touch the system until then it's perfectly fine to select December as the starting off point for any of your schedule rotations. Now the end date, I'm going to recommend you build out until maybe 2020 for the time being. Now this end date does not represent how long you're scheduling someone to this rotation. It's just indicating how long that schedule is available for you to assign. You can extend these out. Really, someone's going to be working Monday through Friday there from here to eternity, but we're not necessarily going to build out the rotation for 20, 30 years, because it's going to take a long time for that rotation to save once we're done finishing up. At the very bottom, you're going to enter the pattern. So based on a Monday, December 5th start date, we're going to enter 5 days on, 2 days off, and then we're going to link it to the administration shift that we created in the earlier step. Click on the Save button and just allow it maybe 20, 30 seconds for it to save. It'll probably take even less than that. So again, notice that we're not assigning anyone. No names have been applied. That's going to happen later. That was the original subject of today's class. Okay. Okay. So let's close that out. And the schedule has been added over to the left. And as you can see, I have several of these because I do these classes quite often. So the next one we're going to do is a detective rotating schedule. Let's do that. Again, I like to use the first part of the code for the department or squad that the schedule rotation is tied to. And you only have about 5 characters on that, so abbreviating it would be helpful. Next, you're going to give it another description indicating what type of schedule it is. Now, the detective schedules are actually identical. The only difference is who is working which shift at any given time. So it's probably not a good idea to refer to days, evenings, you know, those sorts of things. I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to call this, you know, slot 1 or detective 1. Under the description, I can enter the name of the detective who's working that schedule. That way, if I ever need to reference who's assigned to which rotation, it's a little easier that way, because it's not going to be as easy as saying, hey, you're on squad 1.
Right.
Right? So that's me. I'm now a detective. So there you go. The description, you know, you can always overwrite if that person ends up getting, you know, reassigned, retired, whatever the case may be. You can always rename it for whoever is taking over that slot just by entering this screen and entering a new name. And you can do that at any time. And this is how, sure.
Instead of labeling Detective 1 and then putting description Detective Espinosa, so we're going to insert Detective 1 into that rotation. Instead of making it Detective 1, make it Detective 8 to 4?
No, I would not do that because this rotation is actually going to do more than just assign someone 8 to 4. It's actually going to assign them to all 3 shifts. Okay. That's why we probably don't want to make any reference to a specific shift.
Okay.
And you'll see. And so in the start date, again, I'll use Monday as my example, building it out till December 31st of 2020. And let's say the week of the 5th, I was working 8 to 4. Great. There's my 5 and 2 tied to the 8 to 4 shift. The following week, I don't know, maybe I do 12 to 8, and there we go. So there is the full rotation. There's your Monday through Fridays for 3 weeks. So when you assign me to this rotation, this week, of course, I'll be on 8 to 4, next week 12 to 8, the following week 4 to 12, and then it just cycles back and repeats itself.
Great. That's great.
Okay? So we're going to save this one. Beautiful. Okay, so there's that first slot. Now, we're going to have to create a couple of more. So just clicking on the new button again, this might be Detective 2 and whoever that's going to be.
You're basically creating one for every detective.
Pretty much, yeah, because even though they're working the same pattern, they're doing it on different days. So if Monday the 5th is when I'm starting this.
Right, so that first week there, you're going to give this guy a different starting point.
That's absolutely correct, right? So I could even put my 5 and 2s. That's nice and easy. I can do that. And now this guy might start on 4 to 12, and then go to 8 to 4, and then go 12 to 8.
Okay.
Okay. And again, you know, we're just building the base schedule. If these guys need to move things around, you know, you can certainly make that happen with relatively little effort.
Right, it's fairly easy. Even if
yeah, oh yeah.
Let's say an hour. Let's say he had to move it to, you know, 11 to 7. How difficult is that to actually do?
Okay, you see Detective Jim Ruiz here on my Detective Bureau?
Yeah.
I click on his name. I select Change Schedule Times. And I adjust the hours.
Oh, and it's just for that day?
Just for that day.
Oh,
now, you will have the opportunity to do it for more than one day if you needed to. But what you're going to find is things are as easy as clicking on the person and selecting the option from the left side. In fact, your supervisors may not be working from within the desktop application. They have a far more simplified web portal, but it still works the same way. Click on the person, view the options, and perform the function. If they need to perform department-wide functions, they're not just necessarily dealing with one person anymore, then they move to the Supervisor Zone. This allows you to perform a lot of the same functions, but it allows you to do it, you know, on a wider scale, right? Maybe I need to do something for my entire squad, right? Or I need to make an adjustment to someone's schedule for an extended period of time. So you're going to notice individual day-to-day changes, click on the person. Department-wide or changes made for an extended period, go to the Supervisor Zone. If you sort of follow that mantra, I think you'll be okay.
All right.
Okay. So, I mean, those are relatively easy. You know, your records or, you know, some of your others might be very similar to admin schedules where they're simple, you know, 5 and 2s. But for your squads, let's take a look at that. I'll use, I can use maybe patrol. I should only have one squad 1 schedule, so something like that I think should be sufficient.
That's what we do now, so that's perfect.
Okay. So here you're going to select the first working day in their rotation. And I'm sticking with December 5th. You know, you'll have to see where yours begins for each individual squad. And here we're going to start entering the patterns. So you do Pitmans, right?
Yes.
That's kind of a Pitman schedule, right? 2-2, 3-2, 2-3.
2-3. Yep, that's it.
Okay, awesome. So squad 1 might start on that date working days. When they're done, we set the night pattern. And so when they're done, it just repeats.
And then that's all you need. That'll just keep going.
That's all you need. Now, whenever we build, a schedule like this, we always like to point out this option here called View Sample. This allows you to test the pattern you created to make sure that the days are all falling in the right place. So if I click on View Sample, we're going to see a calendar, and there it is. 2 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, 2 days off. Then it switches over to nights. Okay. And I can even, on the top left, bring up the 2017 schedule. That just allows me to verify that it looks good.
That's a home run.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay. So let's close out of this and let's save that one. Now, which squad works alongside one but on the nights? Like, who would?
Squad 2 would be, if they're on days, and Squad 2 is on nights the same day.
Gotcha. So here's a little shortcut. After you save your Squad 1 schedule, go up top, switch the 1s to 2s. Don't mess with the dates. We don't need to worry about that. And in the section below, swap out your shifts. If you'd like to view the sample, you can, but at this point you probably nailed it. So click on the Save button. Because you changed that one code, it created a brand new rotation without messing with the old one.
Okay, good.
Okay? So there's our Squad 1, Squad 2. Now, Squad 3, I'm assuming, is going to be working the days, but off by a few days, right?
Exactly.
Right. They're off on the 5th and 6th. They start work on the 7th and 8th.
There you go. So with these guys, click on Squad 1 because your pattern is actually all done for you. Up top, swap out the code, the description, change the date. So if these guys started on the 5th, then the others would have started when?
7th.
The 7th. There you go.
So that'll be the end of one of their tours. So that could be the end of a day shift, and then the following Monday will be the beginning of the night shift.
Well, and that's what you just want to be sure of. You want to make sure that whatever date you pick is the date that they're beginning the very top of their day shift rotation.
Okay. So then I would we'd have to do this the following week. We'd have to start them on the it would be the 12th, I believe then. Right.
And if there's any question about whether or not you got the dates right or even the pattern right, click on View Sample.
Right, that's correct. Because the other squads, the other half of the schedule worked on the 5th and 6th. That means they're off on the 12th and 13th. So that's correct.
Right. Okay. Let's. Okay. So we're in good shape there. Let's save that. Perfect. Okay. And Squad 4 at this point is the same start date, just swapping out
Correct.
the shifts. Now, do you guys bid on schedules, or are these pretty much permanent assignments?
They're permanent assignments. The only thing we do is obviously, and I think this is a completely different subject, but time off obviously works through seniority.
Okay.
That'd be the only thing you're bidding on, really, is time off, but it goes in
Okay.
order.
Okay. Let's save this one. Great. So you saw, I mean, it didn't take too long to create those. These probably take the longest, I think, of all of your schedules. And my question at this stage is, do you have anyone in your department that cannot be scheduled with the rotation? Like, do you have any per diems,
No.
part-timers? Okay.
We have part-timers. They're in the Records Bureau, but they're on a set schedule, though.
Oh, okay. So even though they're part-timers, they have a established schedule. So you can create a record shift for them, and then just build a rotation where, you know, maybe they don't work Monday through Friday, they work Monday through Thursday, so it would be a 4 and 3. Okay.
And I would do it the same way you kind of did detectives. I would just give it, you know, each of them their own name and start them on a different shift.
Yes. Now, if the if your part-timer has Fridays off, you don't necessarily have to name the rotation after them. You can just call the rotation Monday through Thursday. I always like to avoid using people's names in a rotation. You know, unfortunately, just the way the detectives are scheduled, unless we call it, you know, slot 1, 2, 3, you know, it's unavoidable. You know, we can't reference a day shift or an evening shift because they can be working any one of those at any given time. But for records, you know, you might be able to just call it, you know, Monday through Thursday or something like that.
Okay.
So after you have built your schedule rotations, you're going to be able to create your dashboard, and then you'll be able to assign people to the actual schedule rotations themselves. If you have a few more minutes to stay with me, I'd be happy to show you how to create a very simple dashboard that you can always expand on as you continue through the setup and the training of our system. Yeah, and I can also show you how to assign people to the schedules.
That would be great.
Okay, if I do that, classes 3, 4, and 5 are done.
Beautiful.
Okay, and then you can just focus on you know, on the others. Okay. When it comes to dashboards, when you log on to the system, you're probably seeing a blank screen. you're not seeing the things that I'm seeing here. In order to create a dashboard, you're going to click on the Edit Dashboard at the very top. And you'll see a main screen designer pop up with only one option, and that is to add a profile. I'm seeing additional buttons because I already have existing profiles, so these are editing options. You're only going to be able to click on Add Profile when you get started.
Okay.
When you click on Add Profile, you're going to give it a name. You can call this, police schedule. Oh, I'm sorry, did not mean to push that up there. So I just wanted to move some screens out of the way. And so I'll just call this generically schedule. When you click on the OK, I already used it. Okay, fair enough. Let's see if I haven't used that already. I have not. Okay, so you'll be given a blank slate to work with, one single tab called Default Tab, and you now have additional options available under your main screen designer. We're going to use this first tab for our daily schedule. To do that, I'm going to use these buttons in the top middle portion to split the screen up so that I can accommodate the different shifts that I have in my system. You'll even have the option to manually subdivide the blocks in any way you see fit. And that's going to be determined by how many people you have on any given shift. And you'll see what I mean in a moment. For every block, you're going to see a green button on the top left portion. We're going to click on the green button. I'm going to move my main screen designer out of the way. I don't need it at this time. And this is going to be a list of what we call active tiles. This is content that you can add to any dashboard page on any dashboard profile you create. We're just going to focus on the bare minimums right now. Again, because you can always build on this at a later time. I'm going to start by selecting my daily schedule. This is going to be a window that represents a sample of the shift that we're going to select in a moment. Over on the right, you're going to choose to use the timer. That means that as people start putting in time off and overtime, you want to make sure that that window is constantly refreshing so that it displays that information. The refresh rate, generally speaking, I leave it at about 180 seconds. That's, fair. You don't want it to do it too frequently because then it starts making the windows look like they're flickering too often. I'm going to select my day shift. Below that, I'm going to show denied time off, show work times, and I'm going to show what assignments I want to see on the schedule. If I assign someone to a car, I want to see that. You can click on the Apply button to see a sample. Now, we don't have anyone assigned to the day shift yet. No problem. We're just going to click on Apply and Use. So there's our day shift. Next, we're just going to repeat this until we get all of the shifts that we created somewhere on that daily schedule. Let's look for my night shift. Show denied time off, show work times, and if cars, radios, or AEDs are assigned, you can mark those. And by the way, these things like rifles and tasers, you're going to learn how to create your own categories, and if you want those assignments to be displayed on the daily schedule, they certainly will. Now, with the detectives, we probably don't need a large block or a large space to display those schedules. So I'm going to subdivide that one block to show my detective 8 to 4. Four to 12. Okay. And, you know, whether you want to see those assignments, if they even apply to that shift, you can choose those as well. And one more. And apply. So there's your detective schedules. Okay. So in the bottom portion, you can choose to split that as well if you would like. A number of different ways. I'm going to create another horizontal split, another vertical, and maybe in this window, this might be my admin shift. Okay, so you're going to be repeating these steps quite a lot. Now, in admin, you know, we may not have these assignments. It may not apply, so you can choose to leave those out of it. This might be my records. Now, on the bottom portion, I have this one window available. I'm going to recommend that you leave that open because in class number 6, you're going to learn how to set up your minimum staffing requirements, and there's a really neat grid that you can put below that's going to track your staffing by hour. And so when you configure that, there's going to be a tile that you can add at the very bottom of your screen.
Okay.
Okay. Now let's bring up that main screen designer I had on the bottom left corner, and let's rename that default tab to, no, I don't want to remove it. I want to edit tab name. I'm going to call that my daily schedule. When you click OK, there it is. There's the change. Now we're going to add a new tab. We're going to call this my weekly schedule. Let's add another one. Monthly schedule. Now if I click on any one of these, I can go ahead and start adding content to that individual page. To do that, let's click on the green button once again, and this time we're going to scroll down to the bottom and we're going to look for our weekly schedule. Over on the right, we're going to customize that. We're going to put in a refresh rate, and you're going to choose which squads you want displayed on that weekly schedule. I may choose to show all groups and squads. Under sort mode, I may want them organized by group. And under the week start date, I may want to begin on a Monday. So let's click on the Apply button up top so we can see what that's going to look like. See? Everyone grouped together by their squads. Let's click on Apply and Use. And it'll look like nothing happened, but it worked. It just needs some time to refresh. So we're going to move over to the monthly schedule. Click on the green button. And we're looking for an active tile called Monthly Schedule Grid. Use your timer. Select which groups or squads, or if you would like to select all, you're free to do so. And click on Apply and Use. When you're done building your dashboard profile, save it, and then click on Exit. Now you have a very basic dashboard that will allow you to just verify that everyone is on a schedule and on the right schedule. As you move through our advanced classes and the rest of the training curriculum, you're going to learn how to add additional content to this profile, such as extra duty activity, training activity. There is about 40 different active tiles, all dealing with different things that you can add to this. Now, as I mentioned before, this desktop version is probably going to be used primarily by your administrators. Most of your basic users and supervisors are going to be using a website. And the website doesn't have as many, options as the desktop has when it comes to building, pages like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on Administration. We're going to select Company Center, and at the very bottom, we're going to select Web Dashboard. Now, the weekly and the monthly schedules, all of that is fixed format on the web portal. You can't customize it like we just did. So the only thing we're doing at this stage is creating a group of daily schedules for these guys. And to do that, we're going to click on the New button, and I'll stick with calling this Police Schedule. When you click on the OK button, you'll be given a blank page to work with. And now you're just going to select the shifts you want to see under each block. So I might use this one for my day, this one for my nights. At the very bottom, I can maybe use that for my detective schedules. And, on the top right, I always like to have a training shift in there in case I need to assign somebody to training on a regular day off. I can assign them to a training shift without putting them under days or nights and confusing the sergeant, who might think that they're there when they're really not. And so I have a training shift, by the way, that the times are set for 0 to 0 because that's going to be determined by the class that we're assigning them to. But I think this might work well as like a web dashboard for you. Now, I can add an additional page because I'm only able to see 6 shifts at a time. So I can use the second page for things like my admin schedule and my records people. Because those guys are really Monday through Friday, most of them anyway, so we can probably put them on the second page. And when you're done, we click on the Save button. Okay. So let's show you the web portal that most of your basic users will be logging on to. And I'm just going to log on with my administrative privileges here. Okay. So this is what we just built, the police schedule. Okay. This is how they're going to see all of the different shifts on that day. They're still going to have calendars, a number of different formats to use. Here's a monthly schedule. And there's the N for nights that, I used. And so everyone is going to be able to see not only their own squad, but other squads as well. So as I mentioned before, the formatting of this is fixed. It's compared to the customizing tools we had available on the desktop version. Okay. But the last thing I have for you today is how do we assign our employees to all of these shifts and rotations that we created. To do that, we're going to use the Build Schedule menu within the desktop application. We're going to add employees to existing rotations, the first option in the menu. We're going to select the date that we want to build the schedule for. Now, our schedule rotations actually started in December, but of course they spill over into the next year. So you can, if you wanted to just build schedules for 2017, you can do that. That Squad 1 rotation is still good. It's not like it's going to reset on January 1st. It's going to pick up wherever that rotation was on that date based on how you built it. You're then going to select the employees. Now, I use squads A through D here in my department. So I can choose to assign everyone at once if I would like. I can choose all employees and then select and close. You'll see everyone's name listed. Now, you're going to notice I have rotation codes and descriptions here on the far right column. That's only because I've assigned these people previously. You will not see these values in those columns. What you're going to do is you're going to highlight any part of the employee's name, doesn't matter where, and you can even hold down your control button if you would like to select everyone within the same squad. And I'm just going to do it with two people here. So I'm going to take these two guys, and over on the right, I am going to choose Squad 1. When I click on this arrow button here in the middle, you'll see that the rotation code and name are displayed. And I can continue doing this one by one if I would like to, putting everyone in those slots. Now, I want to show you what this looks like, but I don't want to do it for everyone because we don't have too much time left. So I'm going to select employees. I'm going to clear, I'm going to say none. I don't want to see anyone here. I just want to see maybe Jennifer here. I'm going to assign her to Squad 1, and I'm going to click on the Apply button. Now, the more employees you assign at once, the longer you decide to build it out, are all going to affect how long this step takes to complete. So this is a great time to, go get lunch or go get a cup of coffee and come back, and it should be done.
Okay.
Individually, or if we did it by groups?
I would do it by groups, because you can just bring everyone up and say, okay, this guy is in squad 1, this guy is in squad 2. So I'm just doing it for one person, because if I did it for too many, we'd be here for a while.
Okay.
But when you're doing it on your system, yeah, I would just do it together. There we go. Entry successfully created. Let's exit out of the screen. And if I was to go to January, I don't know if she's actually if that's a working day for that particular squad. So I might have to cycle through. There she is on the day shift on the 3rd. Okay. So you're going to do this for a larger group of people, so you should start seeing everyone's names populate into those shifts. You're also going to have your weekly schedules. That might be just an easier way of sort of tracking everyone. Okay. So there's Sergeant Harris on days. I go to the monthly schedule. There she is. And then she switches over to nights. So, I gave you guys a lot of information.
I got a lot of work ahead of me, I think.
It's some, but, I think because we're a couple weeks away from seeing some of those other classes, I just wanted to give you the option to be able to, at least work on this. Because what I just showed you is probably the most time-consuming of, the entire implementation of this system. So what I did was I recorded the session for you. So in about an hour or so, you're going to receive just like a thank you email for attending the class. Okay. And in that email is going to be a video link.
Great. Quick question. I did get a email about a VCS Winter 2017 release. I guess it's your updated software or whatever.
Yes.
I'm guessing since we're new, that's what this is. Is this your update?
You might be one version off. I would consider installing that.
And I go about doing that how? Just going on your website or?
Yes, so if you get the link for the download file, you just run the executable and it will replace whatever version you currently have on the desktop.
Okay.
And if you'd like, I can just have one of the techs send that over.
Yeah, because we didn't put this on many computers yet. This is the only computer. We're so new to this. So I might as well download that before I do much more.
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense.
Everything. I'm guessing everything transfer. Like whatever I do on here today, when I download the new stuff, does it all transfer over?
Oh yes. Oh certainly.
Right. Okay. I don't even really know if we have a login to get into this thing.
It is SECADM. That is both your username and your password, which is temporary. You're going to learn how to create the login IDs for everyone in your department, including yourself. But until your employees are in there, you're going to use that generic login.
Okay. So, but is entering all those people, that's probably the first thing I should do?
I mean, the sooner the better. You can certainly start building the schedules. Everything that I showed you up until the assignment, you can start doing, today. Now, I am about to email you some guides. And every online class, all of the basic setup classes, have training aid documents. They're just like screenshots and instructions for what was being covered for that online class. I'm going to send you all of them.
Okay, great.
Okay, so this way, like I said, if you want to be able to move along sort of at your own pace, using the videos, using the guides, you can do that. I'm just going to copy that over. Copies. Okay. Just like to send you a couple of other links so you have sort of everything on one page.
Information. This does the work for you. But that's easy for, because we gotta go back in and re-sign.
You just did that.
Yes. Yeah. Boom, done.
It's probably good if you do it and do it again.
So,
You just
Okay.
house with 5 other fucking people, 8 shotguns, and they blasted fucking beer outside the van.
Okay, you should be receiving that email shortly, and again, it's going to include 7 documents for each basic setup class. You would have gotten those when you registered for them.
Yes.
But you'll be able to use those in conjunction with the videos to, get yourself what you need for entering employees and things like that. I think you're going to find that stuff is actually pretty straightforward. I think what we did today is probably,